Awesome. Thank you, Vitali. Thank you, Fisher, Smith, everyone that spoke here. Definitely great conversation. And yeah, looking forward to more of these. Yeah, it's awesome to go back to back from DeFi to NFTs. Now we're going into infrastructure with wallets, bringing up Martian as our co-host, have Blocto and Ethos represented as well, so we can cover both the Aptos and Sui space and generally the wallet ecosystem. Some really exciting news coming out overall for wallets. As many of you know, Uniswap recently launched their own wallet. We're seeing account abstraction start to become really popular. Custodial, non custodial is definitely a debate. So yeah, really excited to kick this off. With that, let's move along and keep it moving. Pun intended. And yeah, we'll kick it off to Martian to do intros, and we'll go down the line.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for having me. It's great to be here. Always great to be part of these conversations. And I've been listening along on the other panels as well. And like, thanks a lot for organizing this MoveCon. So I'm Abhinav, COO at Martian. Martian is a crypto wallet for Move-based chains. We recently launched on Sui as well, but we started off with Aptos. We have built out a lot of native integrations on the Aptos side and currently working on building out more features on the Sui side as well. More recently, we launched like a social integration feature with Twitter being the first choice of platform. So by that, I mean you can connect your Twitter username to your account address, and then you can participate in various transactions that we are supporting at the moment. We are building out more use cases and use cases on that, and would love to hear your the community's response or like the community's wants on more use cases to be added. Currently, we
Sure.
support being able to run campaigns where you say, "Hey, Martian Wallet, airdrop like testnet APT tokens to the first N retweeters, and whoever has their account connected to their Twitter handles and are among the first N retweeters would get those said amounts." We also recently launched like the ability to mint NFTs through this very same process as well. Apart from that, we also support P2P transactions, and currently we are looking to sort of reward people with NFTs who are speakers in a Twitter space, and also working on doing these two campaigns that I mentioned earlier. In a like self-custodial way where the user doing these campaigns would need to sign those transactions at the very end, so that whole process will happen in a batch like a batch transaction way.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, really looking forward to discuss some of these features, how social starts getting into integrated into wallets. Definitely excited to see the wallet becoming like the hub of and the interface and the entry point for a lot of folks. Awesome, yeah. Kicking over to the Ethos, would love to get an intro from you, and yeah, passing it over.
Awesome. Nice to meet everyone. I'm Nadia. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Ethos. We're a wallet that's a super app for Sui. And the way that we're thinking about the wallet is really trying to reimagine the interface to be more about being a gateway to discover and experience applications in an integrated way. So we're building three core things. One is actually infrastructure for builders on Sui who are trying to create consumer apps. This could be your classic crypto use cases like DeFi, NFTs, and trading, but it could also be something that looks really new, something like a completely on-chain game or an e-commerce app or something social. There have been so many great ideas at the Sui Builder House in Denver this week. The second thing is really trying to work on the wallet as being more of an app-oriented experience. We do have a Chrome extension available on Sui DevNet now, and we have a new browser, Wallet Explorer, in beta. We're also working on a mobile app. And then finally, we've been building applications. The goal of those is really to be open sourced and inspiring for developers and other builders. You can take components, they're very composable. We worked with teams like Sui and S to make the name show up on the leaderboard. And to make them fun for users. A recent example is Cappy AI, which we launched on Sui's Wave 2 testnet. It let users create an NFT with a background for their sweet capybara character. We used Stable Diffusion and ChatGPT to help folks kind of make a creative experience there. So yeah, for us at Ethos, we're only on Sui. We're really focused on sort of creating the best possible reimagined wallet there to start. But it's awesome to be here and to sort of have folks from across the Move ecosystem. Thanks for having us join.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, really excited to hear more of that. Kicking over to the Blocto team.
Hi, I'm Shen. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Blocto. So Blocto is a multi-chain wallet that focuses a lot on the onboarding experience of users. So yeah, we do have like SDKs, like JavaScript SDKs, iOS, Android SDKs, Unity SDK, as well as our mobile wallet app. But we focus more on the SDK side. So we want the wallet experience to be integrated into the application so the user might not feel the existence of a wallet from the beginning. So yeah, we think this is pretty important to onboard the people that are not so crypto native, that are just trying to try out a game or like collect like sport collectibles. So currently we support EVM chains and Flow. That is where we are probably more known for. And we also support Aptos and also coming to Sui in the near future. Yeah, so yeah, I'm currently at ETH Denver as well, and I just wrapped up a discussion with Wallet Connect about like account abstraction, how we can utilize the stuff on EVM to make it accessible for users. And I think this challenge is like it happens in every ecosystem. So yeah, it's a challenge that all the wallets or all the dApps are kind of facing similarly in no matter which ecosystem you're in. So yeah, happy to be here and happy to discuss about the Move ecosystem.
Awesome. That's a great transition into the first topic around UX. So this is definitely a hot topic, as anyone that is new to crypto or has been in crypto for a while can definitely attest to. It's very difficult to use this stuff. I mean, even thinking about how to store your private key. So yeah, wanted to start there and hear some thoughts about how has the wallet experience improved or changed over time, and where do you see it going to continue improving? I'll just keep it open. Anybody can speak up if they want.
I would love to jump in there if that's cool. I think it's such a great question. And I feel like with wallets, today at least, I feel like so much of the wallet experience and interface really kind of do prevent mainstream adoption, as folks have talked about. Like they're just fundamentally designed as sort of this technical experience that's really oriented around transacting and trading crypto assets. It's not at all, intended for more robust or dynamic use cases or applications. I feel like MetaMask, really gets credit for sort of setting the design precedent there, which, at the time was groundbreaking, but I think today, is sort of what most folks have followed, and I think falls short of what developers are wanting to do in terms of the experiences that they're creating. And the wallet has kind of turned into a bottleneck for interaction. So I think really, it sounds like every team here is thinking about how do we help onboard more mainstream users? How do we make the wallet more of like a gateway to applications rather than just sort of a blocker? And I think that's super powerful. If you look at sort of history, companies, that have thought differently about things like design patterns and user experience can really disrupt things in terms of mainstream adoption of new technology. Apple, for example, really shifted the paradigm in Web2 from computing being the sort of technical, very unsecure, very confusing experience. So I think for us, like that's really what we're seeking to do for sort of Web3 consumers with Ethos.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great perspective, and definitely how do we think about onboarding more users, making this look a lot more like Web 2. One kind of pulling on that string a little bit and passing off to Blocto, which I've definitely a huge fan of the onboarding experience you guys have put together. So yeah, kind of curious to hear how you're tackling this UX, onboarding folks both in a custodial, non-custodial way. What does that look like, especially as we try to onboard more folks that have no idea what private keys are, or maybe shouldn't even care about what they are?
Yeah, I think this is a great question, and I think the like core aspect of this problem, and I think it should be like clarity and familiarity. So like the users should be able to relate to the experience. They should be able to like just figure it out by themselves. It should be very similar to what they are already using in the Web2 world. So familiarity is pretty crucial, and adding some like centralized component to it definitely helps, but it's not the main issue. Like we are a mixed custodial wallet, and so we do have our centralized or like custodial mode, but I don't think this is the only solution for the familiarity issue. Yeah, so users should be able to understand the journey. They should be able to, for example, like on Web2, they are familiar with like freemium model, so they can try out an application in the beginning, and later when they feel that they really love the experience, they really love the app, they can start thinking about paying. But currently in Web3, this is not the default journey. They have to, from day one, they have to purchase some like gas fee and deposit into their wallet to actually start using applications. And like this can be solved with like some centralized component, but on Move, like this can also be solved like at least on Aptos, like it can also be solved with like fee payer accounts or like multi-agent transactions. So there are more tools in the newer ecosystems that we can make use of to make this like journey as easy as possible. And another like big component of this question is clarity. So the user should be able to understand what they're doing at every step of the way. And this is not what's happening in the Web3 world mostly. Like usually when they're asked to sign a transaction, they are asked to sign like a hash or some like a string that they can not understand at all. And like on Aptos or on Sui, like this can be made better so that users can actually know what are the resources, what are the objects that they're actually interacting, and what are the outcomes of the transaction, so they can like be like understand the journey or what they're asked to do better. And so I think clarity and familiarity are the crucial components of making the UX accessible for like mainstream users.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that you pointed out that the infrastructure itself is also maybe a barrier, but now that's slowly getting taken down. I feel like, definitely a big component of user experience is that front end and the design and how people navigate and have all these conceptions of what a private key is, or do you even need it? But also a lot of these features, as you mentioned, are enabled by the core protocols themselves. So yeah, really excited to have some of this natively on Aptos, as you mentioned, some of the I believe you mentioned some of the multi-signature like native components that Aptos has. Also kind of curious to hear maybe from the Ethos and Martian space, how that looks like also on Sui, and how you're thinking overall about, some of the blockers that still exist in making the UX better, and how the infrastructure can be better improved, and yeah, make this a little bit easier for folks.
Right. I mean, a couple of very great points raised by like Ethos and Bitkeep as well. So the design obviously plays a very central role and a very key role. It should be very intuitive. A user should just be able to open the wallet and should be able to navigate very freely. But having said that, like there's also the problem of when you design like the current existing solutions for self custody wallets are not designed in a way that people are feeling very confident with their if they want to keep the entire like balance of their earnings or like their financial funds with the fear of just losing out on their private key and not being able to recover there. I think the recent developments on account abstraction is a game changer here just for the UX. So like account abstraction allows for a lot of cool features to be built out, and we are currently exploring that as well. The major one being social login and recovery. Uh, and this also provides user familiarity towards what they are doing on the Web2 side, and now they can if we are able to build out similar login and recovery that could be a huge value unlock. But account abstraction also provides a lot of different features that can be built out, like being able to do batch transactions, being able to like sponsor transactions for newly onboarded users, or even like session keys that would enhance the gaming experience of a user a lot, and especially building on Sui, where we see a lot of cool gaming projects, and they're building out like they're using the native functionalities of Sui. This is very important. So you can like design burnable like private keys, where you can define rules that can be applicable for a session key. So you can say, while playing this game for the next hour or so, you will be doing automatic transactions on buying assets, on chain assets for games, or something similar. Apart from that, like once the user is onboarded, like and there is great design for him to navigate the wallet, there should also be something that he's able to. There should be basically a social element to it, and which is why we are also focusing on the social integration bit. Um, where they're able to like interact with the community using already existing social platforms, and do and being able to do transactions that they are familiar with, like being able to tweet out and like do transactions based on that. That adds a social component to it, and yeah, it's just a really cool experience on top of it.
Awesome. Would love to kind of pause there, and for some of the more or less technical folks in the audience, maybe someone engineer perhaps can explain account abstraction, how it works, and yeah, all the features that are locked. So that's definitely a really hot topic right now, especially as that's getting added on or being passed as an improvement proposal on Ethereum, which obviously the biggest chain, and some of these newer chains like Aptos, Sui, some of the L2s are integrating as well natively. So yeah, maybe someone from an engineering perspective can explain it to the less technical folks in the audience.
Yeah, I can probably put some points here. And so so initially for most existing ecosystems like Ethereum, the account is basically linked to a private key directly. So you have a pair of keys, like one is private, you keep it to yourself, and it's used to sign transactions from your account. And the public key or the hash of it is basically your address or your like public facing identity. So your identity and your key is linked together, and this has some issues. So like, for example, if you lose access to your private key, you lose access to your account and there's no recovery there. And like if you leak your private key to someone else, and you like you're basically your account is open to them. So like if you want to if you find that your key is no longer valid, you want to change the ownership of it, you cannot do it. You have to migrate to another account altogether. So like basically when you remove your private key, you have to use a new account. And this has quite some issues, because like you might want to preserve your identity, because a lot of time the transaction history or the soulbound tokens that you cannot transfer are like they are an on-chain representation of who you are, like in this world. And if you just abandon the identity altogether, it's like it can create issues. So account abstraction is basically just abstracting away the key component to it, and also to the identity. So you can remain the same identity no matter, like you can replace the keys, and the verification mechanism can be coming from a smart contract. So you can basically write any logic to do authorization. You can do social recovery. You can pay for other people's fees, and you can rotate your dirty keys out. Like you can do more with your wallets, with your accounts. And this is actually native in some of the newer ecosystems, including like Aptos. And like I think Sui is still designing like the final account system is not fine that they're going to launch is probably not final yet, but I think there will be something similar there as well. So like on newer ecosystems, the key component and identity are decoupled, so you can actually do more with your identity.
Yeah, really excited about this getting integrated more into wallets and really helping to onboard a ton more users. yeah, one of my favorite features here is the gas abstraction. Like that's such a pain, especially when entering a new ecosystem. You want to get started right away, but then how do you get that small amount of gas that you need to even do anything? You need to go to find an exchange, for example, that can have whatever gas token it is, and then send it to yourself. Even if you want to do something as simple as log into a game or do something that has nothing to do with needing the gas token. So that's one of my favorite ones, and yeah, really excited for some of the ones like seed recovery, doing some form of social login, multi calls. All of that is going to definitely improve the user experience tremendously. So super excited about all those coming. Yeah, any final thoughts on account abstraction or some of the infrastructure that you see that's still necessary for the wallet experience to continue improving? Keep it open, but if not, we can move into next questions.
Yeah, I have a question for any one of the wallets. So, does any of your wallets have any measures to place or detect, and to prevent potential passphrase phishing scams or social engineering scams?
Awesome. Yeah. And yeah, thank you, Steve, for speaking up, and encourage everyone else. If you want to come up and speak, if you're part of the community, keeping this open is definitely part of this. So thank you for doing that. And yeah, along that question, that's definitely super important. As we all know, crypto is very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, or if you're visiting sites that look very similar to other sites. Something that's really cool that MetaMask and definitely other wallets, and we're definitely looking at integrating into this is block lists for websites that have definitely been reported as being scams or phishing sites. This comes with some drawbacks. I believe there was an issue with Topaz earlier this year where if you had MetaMask installed, you got blocked. And that's just because someone decided to add them to the list on the GitHub PR. So I think there's definitely some issues and maybe some governance around, what is a phishing site, and can we prevent some form of mistakes, or maybe that was an attack. But yeah, that's definitely huge. I think another one is native embedded applications within the wallets, so that folks don't have to trust a domain name or a DNS. So I think we're definitely seeing that as a trend. But again, that can also come with its drawbacks of if you open up the UI or these applications a little bit too much, as maybe MetaMask is doing with the name of the feature is escaping me. But yeah, they're essentially launching like a open framework or SDK for people to build applications themselves. So that could potentially be an attack vector similar to how anybody can build a website and make it look like anything else. But yeah, I think that should definitely help, and hopefully some form of governance around what's safe, and creating registries of this stuff should help out. But yeah, I'll throw that question out to others if anybody else has a perspective on it. That's definitely a really good question. So thank you.
I'm looking for like which wallet gonna integrate ChatGPT API first. Like, I think they will raise a lot of rounds. Like, imagine you get some like prompt, and then they check the contract for you, the AI, and then it says, "Oh, there's some danger," or some sort of. I don't know. I would like to see that. You wallets. It's weird to call you wallets, by the way. There's humans talking.
Yeah, that's definitely kind of odd. No, I agree. I think maybe using something like ChatGPT to better improve either looking at the site, so maybe they can also screen and look for different patterns that might be malicious. So for example, if obviously, like, if there's a popular website like Uniswap or Aave, and then someone creates some small derivative of it, that can be easily picked up by some AI. So that's definitely a great idea. And maybe also even on the user experience, as maybe we stop pressing buttons and start talking to our wallets, potentially something like ChatGPT can help you send transactions or do whatever else you want to do on your wallet, stake, swap, etc. So yeah, that's definitely a very interesting thought. Yeah, I see we have members of the community here chiming in, so this is also awesome. So Crispy, I see you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Appreciate it. I love the panel. It's a very interesting conversation. I see we have a couple of wallets up here. Love it. That's awesome. So just a quick question. I'm curious if anybody has like an estimate of when like Ledger integration will go live on Aptos. I know that it's been started. I actually have the Aptos like app on my Ledger, but I'm not able to use it yet. And so I was just wondering if anybody knows like what a time frame is on that.
Yeah, I can answer that. So we help build the Ledger integration. It's still, you would have to go into the experimental features portion of Ledger. It's being audited by the Ledger team. The integrations into the wallet should definitely be audited. But I'm pretty soon. That audit that the Ledger team has as part of the review process will finish pretty soon, and you won't need to be in the experimental features anymore to use Ledger. But yeah, DM me if you want, or anyone from our team, we can help you get it set up and using. But yeah, that's actually a really good segue too, and into another question. We'd love to ask some of the folks here is what's the best way to manage your private key? Is it multi-sig? Is it keeping it yourself? Is it non-custodial? So yeah, just kind of curious. And I'll pass the mic over to Martian.
Yeah, just from a security perspective, like storing it, like just storing your private keys is a big issue right now. And like we were talking for mainstream adoption, it is currently not the most ideal way. Like uh, not the most ideal way for non-native crypto users. Uh, so we are looking at like social logins, and also like multi-factor authentication, multi-party computation, to enable to add like more social logins into it. Um, but yeah, like for currently, like the best way to use to obviously store it in a very secure way. This is something that I usually follow, but this is something that we are working towards, like adding more of the social Web2 features onto it, just for mainstream adoption.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Definitely mainstream adoption needs to have this abstracted a little bit more. And I mean, my own personal perspective, it's a lot of these ethos of not your keys, not your crypto should definitely be followed. And as we look to do things like multi-sig and other things like social login, just being super careful as users, as to the trade-offs of what some of these features might entail. And at the end of the day, something specifically like Ledger, like keeping your keys offline, is the safest, but it comes with a ton of hurdles. So potentially, what is best for some users, and some of the stuff might be implemented into wallets, is like best practices. Like, hey, maybe you can keep a hot wallet with some funds where you don't need to remember the private key, or having that be a multi-sig with some trusted parties, but then most of your cold storage or most of your funds being stored more securely, in a multi-sig or split key and completely offline. So, some of these best practices, potentially wallets as well, can help through UX or design, help people onboard and keep different stashes, I guess, of crypto stored securely. And some of this is definitely best practice. Some of this is education, and hopefully, as we continue to move on through the space, these paradigm shifts become a little bit more normalized. Like, I'm sure a lot of us weren't used to using like 2FA on our devices. Now we know how important it is to not lose your device, for example. And yeah, I think some of this stuff will definitely be more broadly used. Steve, I see you have your hand raised, so definitely go ahead.
Yeah. This question is for Martian. Um, Regarding the social media integration that you guys put up, like earlier this year, the Twitter integration. If a person's Twitter account becomes compromised, will that affect the person's security in the wallet?
Yeah, definitely not. So we have designed it in a way that like the final say of you approving the transactions would go to your wallet. So you even when you do like P2P transactions, or now we have built that functionality out for even carrying out those campaigns. So the final say of whether you want to transfer coins or like facilitate that transaction would be onto you. So you'll get the notification essentially in the wallet, and not on even when your Twitter is compromised. Like if you have control over your private keys, then nothing would happen to your funds.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, and would love to see more of these. More of this be discussed as people move forward and look at what's the best way to integrate Web2 and other features in a way that's safe, and smart contracts and account abstraction definitely start to allow us to integrate some of these Web2 things that we're used to, and putting it into this new paradigm shift that is Web3. Um, so moving into another question, maybe changing the conversation a little bit. Data is something that obviously is very important as traditional tech products are being built. What's an interesting paradigm shift in crypto is that the data that's on chain is completely public and open to everyone. So yeah, kind of curious to hear from everyone how you think about on-chain data. How can it be used to maybe improve the user experiences? And maybe also, are there any drawbacks to this stuff being so public? Maybe kicking over to Ethos.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting question. Obviously, it's a different world on Sui. We're in DevNet right now, but I think for us, the way that we're thinking about data is really trying to strike the right balance in terms of privacy and enabling that for users, and then leveraging data that is public, things that are fully on chain, to be able to create a better, more curated user experience. So the thing that immediately comes to mind for me, given our focus on applications, is things like recommendations. How do we help connect you if you are really enjoying a game experience with other types of experiences and applications that might be relevant, for example? I think there's a lot there that we can do to sort of support users there. I think it's very early on Sui, but I think that's something that's very top of mind. I think in terms of sort of like the trade-offs of blockchain data in general, I think there's sort of the question of like, is more data necessarily better? And I think it really comes down to like, how are you using it? Are you using it in a user-centric way? Are you respecting privacy? Are you using public data in a way that's exploitative or additive? So I think there's a lot to think through in terms of how do you actually do this ethically and thoughtfully. And I think wallets have a lot of responsibility there.
Yeah, 100%. And privacy is one of those huge ones where, you as anyone probably as an individual user, we don't really want the whole world knowing when we go to Whole Foods or we go, to shop for certain things, and that being tied to our identity literally forever on the blockchain. So, yeah, it's an interesting conundrum. It's really hard to stay private or stay non in crypto when literally everything is on chain. So really excited to potentially see some of the innovation around privacy. I know zero knowledge proofs is also a really hot topic, and something that pretty soon, hopefully in the next few years, we'll be able to make best use of. And payments, I think, is probably going to lag in adoption until we see some of these privacy features. Because yeah, I really myself wouldn't feel personally comfortable, using this to go to a restaurant and paying, or doing grocery shopping, or any form of shopping that reveals my own. I just along this question, I can imagine, Target or whoever other large corporate entity starting to market to you, or targeting you on your wallet, especially as these messaging and notification platforms start to come online as well, just based on your purchase. But that's something that can be done today, right? Like we can look at all the Aptos monkeys holders, we can look at any NFT purchasers, and kind of like do marketing campaigns to them, especially as some of these messaging protocols start to come online, like Notify, for example. And yeah, that's another trend that I think we'll start seeing. Wallets as identities, not just as a way to store your funds, but also as a way to be an identity. But that definitely needs to be countered, or expected to understand the trade-off of losing some privacy there. So yeah, definitely very interesting to think about. Yeah, any thoughts, Shuan?
Yeah, I think both of you have made some good points here. I just want to add a little bit. So, yeah, so the characteristic of on-chain data is, like, for one, is like anonymous. So unless you can somehow link the address to the user's like social account, it remains anonymous. But it provides a lot of value, because like these interactions like soulbound tokens or transaction histories, these reveals what you actually have paid for, or you have interacted with, and this delivers more message than a lot of the Web2 data that is collected. So yeah, so how we can use this like reliably and responsibly, I think this is a like big question for all the wallet providers.
Yeah, definitely. Just wanted to add, like, that's a really good point. Like the way you use it, I think notifications can be a really good value unlock for users if you're just able to notify them that okay, your position in a particular, your leverage position in a particular DeFi protocol is about to be liquidated. I think that would be much appreciated by the user. Um, and then you can, on the recommendation side as well, I think I mean, user obviously should have control on the recommendations and the way we use like on-chain data and their usage history to recommend something. But just using, just notifying them of particular choices or certain choices that based on their past behavior could be a really good value unlock for them, for because most of the time they enter an ecosystem, they're very new to the ecosystem, they don't really know what to do. And if you're just like able to provide them that these are like a couple of directions that you can look into, you can explore a bit more, that could be super helpful for a new user, I guess.
Yeah, and along the lines of this as well, and what can make the user experience better, and keeping in mind privacy and data, how it can move around on blockchain. Anybody there that's new, just keep in mind there are some ways to be private, and unfortunately, regulations have come down on things like Tornado Cash, which maybe are broad overreaches in our rights of privacy. And yeah, I think there's some best practices. So, for example, exchanges, if you're like funding a new account and you're going to be doing something like the social integrations on Martian, where your Twitter account's going to be connected to your personal, at least like Twitter personal identity, just keep that in mind. Potentially, like funding that new from an exchange will keep your other addresses definitely more private. But yeah, just kind of curious, maybe hear from others some best practices here on how users can protect themselves in privacy, or maybe use these carefully as keeping in mind that all this data is very public. Yeah, or maybe how users should think about this. I know Martian, you guys recently released this feature where essentially people are connecting their addresses to their Twitter profiles. So kind of curious to hear your thoughts on how people should think about this, use this feature.
Right. So this is a this is a design choice that we made, and which we would be incorporating in future releases as well. So we are the user essentially has the option to like participate in this Twitter in linking their Twitter username. This is not a necessity. If they want to link their Twitter, if they want to have that social integration or like that social interaction with other people who are who are like buying NFTs, sharing it with their community, they they want people to know about how active are, or like how active are they in the ecosystem, or which NFT projects are they supporting. Those people can definitely link their Twitter accounts, and even when they have linked it, like they still have the option to create more wallets in the more wallets and more accounts in their Martian wallet, and they can keep that for for whatever other purpose that they feel not comfortable with sharing, or like sharing it on a social platform.
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely the segregation of addresses for different use cases should be best practices there. So yeah, moving into another question here. Given that this is MoveCon, we'd love to hear from some of the engineers or more technical folks. Perhaps any new features or any safety or any ease of use that Move enables for building wallets or maintaining wallets, or including new features. So yeah, we'd love to hear from some of the more technical folks on how Move can make wallets better.
Yeah, I think the resource model is definitely like one of the best design I've seen in the past few years. I've been in the crypto space for quite some time. So like when Ethereum introduced like smart contracts, it didn't really know like what people will use these smart contracts on. But later, like people have discovered that you don't want to store any data on chain. You only store the most valuable data, which is your tokens, your like NFTs or coins on chain. But the like language was not designed to handle this kind of like on-chain asset manipulations. But Move like introduced a like resource model to tackle this problem. So the assets that you handle, that you transfer, they are actually treated as like pieces of real like assets. Like if you like, for example, if you want to transfer like an NFT on Aptos, like you basically go to your account, pull out that resource, that like NFT resource from your account, and then deliver it to another account, and where that new account like store it in their storage. But on Ethereum, assets are not stored this way, and a lot of assets are like hacked and lost because like wrongful implementation in the smart contracts. But on Move, this is basically impossible. So like Move language enables this kind of stuff, and wallets like in the sense like they can more easily get a full picture about like what the user has in their account, and also when the user make transactions, they can be more like informative about what this transaction will be related to, like what resources, which assets that you have in your account are going to be affected by this transaction. And this is kind of impossible on EVM, but it is like made very easy on Move chains. So I think this is definitely one of the best thing that like wallets can make use of in Move ecosystems.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to have these features on here natively. Hi, Cha. I see you have your hand open here, hand raised.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your perspective too, and maybe quick
No,
quick intro as well, so folks know who you are.
okay. Yeah. So my name is Hai Chao. I'm from the Rouge project. We're building a layer 2 using MoveVM. The layer 2 is on top of Ethereum, but the smart contract virtual machine embedded in the layer 2 is Move language. And yeah, that's pretty much the project. And my not a question, maybe a question, but I'm just thinking that maybe, well, I think my question is for you guys. Would you be considering adding Ethereum support to your wallets as well? Because even though I think we have talked a lot about how Move is maybe better, MoveVM is maybe better for UM, but considering the fact that EVM is still the biggest the user base right now, so was that something you would add? And also, what's the rationale behind that?
I can share my thoughts here. So EVM is definitely a behemoth, and there's probably huge benefits to supporting EVM. Like for example, as someone is doing bridging, they don't have to connect two different wallets, or if they're interacting with an EVM and a Move app across ecosystems or doing some form of cross chain, having that all be within the same app is definitely a huge benefit. I would say some of the drawbacks are maybe some of the technical debt, being able to launch features more quickly. As it was mentioned earlier, Move can be very different from Solidity in how you integrate some of these features. So it could potentially add some technical debt and more resources to building this. So it's definitely could be a trade-off, but also a big opportunity. I know Phantom, for example, they recently started, or I don't know if they already launched it, but they did EVM support. And it took them a really long time to, I imagine, refactor everything and launch it. So there can be trade-offs, but potentially, yeah, big market to support EVM. And hopefully in the future, as you mentioned, maybe Move will also be available on Ethereum. We can do synchronous calls across contracts, and maybe we don't have to maintain as developers various different code bases to have multi-chain wallets. But yeah, that's my own perspective. We'll love to hear others. I think Blocto, yeah, you guys definitely support the various ecosystems.
Yeah, so a funny thing is that like we actually started from EVM, although we are not known for it. So we do support EVM, and on EVM chains, we actually built a layer like smart contract wallets on top of EVM to provide the account abstraction functionalities even before like account abstraction was a thing. So that we did that in like 2019. And yeah, but now like account abstraction has finally like taken off, and people are putting more like attention to it. Yeah, but I think one of the big challenge of supporting multiple chains would be because like different chains have different features or different account systems, and like if you want to support both Move chains and EVM at the same time, you will have to design like a chain agnostic kind of experience. Otherwise, you're just basically putting your label on two different wallets, and that's probably not the best user experience. So you will have to provide like a consistent experience across different ecosystems. That is the challenge. And yeah, we have put a lot of effort into that. And like, if you're interested, we can talk about that.
Yeah, that's exactly the question I was going to ask in the first place. So I feel like the user experience, you have to keep it consistent, and that's something from a technical perspective, I think that's something quite difficult. So thanks for that.
Awesome. Kind of curious to pull on that string a little bit and hear from Martian and about what it's like to build across Aptos and Sui. They're both Move, but I know they're diverging a little bit. So yeah, kind of curious to hear that experience as well. And how do we see all the ecosystems coming together, not just EVM and Move, but all the different flavors of Move as well.
Right. I mean, like building on both the Move, like prominent Move chains, definitely opens up a lot of leeway where we can use our existing features and like include more cross-chain functionality features. So we are still we are still yet to introduce like Move like Sui native features in the wallet. We have been focusing on the Twitter integration bit, but now that that is like in the roadmap, like cross chain functionality features can be built out like very that can add like huge value to the user. So for example, like a user going having Aptos in their account and going to a Sui NFT marketplace should be able to do the transaction, and we should be taking care of like making those sort of cross chain transactions at the back end. And if once we have our notification feature also built out, suppose as an example you have like a apt domain, and you have and there's and you don't have the same name on Sui, we can just prompt the user that okay, this name is available that can be bought on the Sui site. So these are some of the features that we are thinking, and like more on the gaming side as well, that can be really that can enhance user experience drastically. Uh, but yeah, those are in the roadmap. We are still Sui being in DevNet still. We are yet to incorporate the native integrations that are there on Aptos on the Sui side. And once those are done, I think there can be great synergies building out cross-chain functionalities there.
Yeah, definitely. Also curious to hear from Ethos a little bit. You guys are native to Sui. What are some exciting features that you see there being enabled, or some of the use cases around maybe NFTs or gaming? As I know that's like something that's very very hot in that ecosystem too.
Yeah, good questions. I think I think this is back at the beginning of the conversation. Maybe the Martian team called it out, but I think things like being able to batch pre-approved transactions is incredibly easy on Sui. This is something that we're actually already doing today for our game Sui 192, where the game logic is fully on chain, but you're able as a user to sort of safely say, hey, I'm going to set the gas at this, and I want to have this many moves, and be able to play seamlessly, so it's faster and fun. So I think that there's a lot that builders can do in terms of having more completely on-chain experiences when that makes sense for use cases like games or messaging or social, but still having really low latency, really fluid experiences. And there's a lot that the wallet can do to help to facilitate that. I think the concept of dynamic NFTs or XNFTs is something that historically has really only existed as a front-end standard. And with Sui, with dynamic objects, you can actually make an NFT as an application where the object is fully dynamic. It's evolving, but it's also completely owned by the user. And so that's something that we're really excited to see more teams sort of push on in terms of what kinds of experiences can be created. It's pretty special to be able to own and interact with an application as a dynamic NFT beyond it just sort of being a static asset. So there are a lot of great presentations at the Sweet Builder House of NFT projects and gaming teams that are starting to think about this in like really unique and different ways, whether it's a map where all the different parts are NFTs that you're interacting with as you play, or projects that are sort of composable and creative where the NFT might evolve based off of the weather. For example, it's snowing where I am, so seeing dynamic changes, lots of creativity there. So I think we're just scratching the surface, but that's something that I'm personally really excited to see.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And really excited to see how wallets adapt for NFT and gaming, specifically use cases. I'm definitely of the mind that we need very different experiences for very different use cases. And as we see some more features being rolled out, thinking back to what I was missing is MetaMask Snaps, as they're creating kind of like an open SDK or way for folks to build integrations with MetaMask. We're gonna really love to see how this starts to be integrated into gaming and NFTs, and seeing how that specifically plays out with some of the native features on Sui and Aptos will be big. And we'd love to have another session here and bring on some gaming or NFT projects to kind of hear their perspective on wallets as well. I know we're running on time. One question that I want to bring up, because it's definitely timely, is maybe some of the platform risks that exist with launching mobile applications. So really recently, Uniswap put out a blog post essentially saying like, hey, the Apple App Store is being really difficult with us, not letting us launch our app. We also definitely had issues getting through the review process, very tedious. And this is very anti-Web3 or anti-open permissionless ethos. So yeah, kind of curious to hear others' thoughts on how crypto or maybe I guess wallets specifically in general are being gated or throttled by these platforms, and how can we move beyond it?
I mean, do we go by hands or can I just speak?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I have the UX background. That's why I come on the stage at first place. But I'm doing apps actually recently. So that's the perfect question, I felt like. My personal take. Before I start on my take, I actually saw the Mosaic's recent raise, and I was like, okay, I should make a wallet for Aptos so quick. They got the money, I can raise. But then I saw you guys doing amazing, so I say, okay, don't compete with the smart guys. So I lost that idea quick. Yeah, and my take is this. Personally, I try to not fuck with Apple. That's my take. Also you can see OpenSea and other markets, they are not introducing so many wallet connection kind of features. You can see it's more like read only, and I feel like my personal take is really big players like Epic Games, they fight with Apple, they couldn't win. So who am I to win? To be honest, I don't like it, I hate it as a Web3 person. But realistically speaking, we have to find the deal, and I think to find the deal we need kind of more mass adoption, so they take it more serious or something, because in the end of the day they care about the money and customers. That's all.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anybody else want to chime in on this one?
So we do have a wallet app, and I think we're kind of lucky, that wallet app is launched before Apple has put in more serious eye on the crypto related stuff. So so if we launch the wallet now, it's probably not going to pass easily. But so what I think about this is eventually we will be in the position to actually compete with Apple on this, to be in the position of Unreal. But for now, I would say the easier way around this is to provide native iOS, Android SDKs, where you basically just embed your wallet functionality into the app itself. So instead of launching a standalone wallet app and interact with the other app that relies on the wallet functionalities, you basically just embed the functionality in the app directly, and it feels seamless to the users. It's easier to onboard, and it's gets under the radar of Apple.
Yeah, anybody else want to chime in on this one?
Actually, once I had a social NFT app, 2021, and they even rejected because I had a web view, so the browser was opening in the app, and it was opening OpenSea, so I got rejected 3-4 times just because of that. Like, it's crazy, crazy bad there. But I guess you guys also know that.
Yeah, I think my own perspective is that we need to monopolize maybe these big tech platforms. So I think some of the regulation coming out of Europe that's going to allow side loading for applications on iOS is pretty big. The Solana phone, I think, is also a great initiative. Elon was toying around or made some joke about launching a phone himself. So potentially, we need to dethrone Google and Apple as gatekeepers or monopolies here. So yeah, we'd love to see a more open mobile environment. So I know we're coming up on the last few minutes. So any final thoughts or parting thoughts from everyone? Or Steve, yeah, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the web-based platforms. Like diversification is like a major part. Like most times when restrictions occur with all these platforms like Apple, is when like your wallet is like only an app-based wallet. But if there are wallets like a web-based versions, app-based versions, and other versions, it's going to be hard for all these restrictions to happen. That was just my contribution.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, any parting thoughts or any final thoughts or things to leave the audience with from folks as we wrap this one up?
Yeah, just want to say, like, big shout out to Pontem for organizing this. We need to have more conversations, and this was really fun being here and listening to some of the amazing conversations that we had. So yeah, like we should do this more often. And thanks for having us.
100%, yeah, agree. Bringing over, even though we're all building wallets and definitely competitive at some edge. It's definitely very healthy for us to be having conversations and driving the space forward. So, yeah, really grateful to have everyone here. Yeah, parting thoughts from Ethos and Blocto.
Yeah, I mean, definitely echo Martian's thoughts. Thank you for hosting Pontem team. I think one thing that struck me is that we all have really different visions, and I think that there tends to be sort of the framing of like wallet wars and Web3, which are definitely a thing. But I really appreciate the focus of this group of not just like how do you compete over the same small set of sort of existing crypto users who definitely there are things that you can do to better serve them, but how do you actually create a better environment both for builders and for consumers, in Web3 and Web2. So I really appreciated getting the chance to learn about how everyone's approaching it. It's awesome to hear, that folks are doing so many different things to try to make Web3 a better environment for all kinds of users and use cases. So shout out to the other speakers and thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Pontem, for hosting this. And like it's exciting to see the Move ecosystem like moving together, and like different projects, wallets, and are all here. And I really appreciate it. And I'm like looking forward to see, like, if you're in Denver, looking forward to see you in person tomorrow in Aptos house.
Yes, definitely, and thank you all. Thank you for the kind words. Definitely, it took a lot to put this together, and really excited to have these. And now that we have a framework, we'll definitely do them more often. No need to wait a full year for the next September. So yeah, really excited to have these, and thank you everyone for joining. With that, we'll start transitioning to the next session. Really looking forward to it. We're going to be looking at how to build and move developer communities. Thank you everyone here for joining us for the wallet session, all the speakers, all the listeners. Really excited to see this space and this conference really take off. Over 200 concurrent listeners. That's huge. And yeah, really excited. As was mentioned earlier, if you're in ETH Denver, definitely come by the Hacker House, the Aptos Hacker House. We'll be doing some sessions in person. Get to meet the speakers live. Get to ask your questions live. Yeah, really excited to meet all of you in the community and fellow builders. So thank you all for joining the session, and we'll start transitioning over to the next one.